Hi, I am Robert, and today I'm going to show you how we take this image of San Clemente from here to here, all in Lightroom. This is my favorite view in all of Orange County, and this is the first time I ever photographed it. I took this image back in 2013. I have been back many times to shoot this exact same shot. It's a very relaxing image to take. There's a bench right where I set up my tripod, and I can just relax and enjoy the sunset. I framed the end of the pier between those palm trees. If I move my tripod to the left or to the right a little bit, the view of the end of the pier would be blocked. I wanted to include the train in this image. I had to quickly change my settings in order to capture the train in motion. I was shooting long exposure shots and I would have just got a blurry train. Let's check out the settings that I used for this image. I shot it at 1/250th of a second at f4 and ISO 400. Since this was shot on such an old camera, a Canon 40D, I wanted to try and keep the ISO as low as possible, but I needed the shutter speed to be up quick enough where I could capture the train. Even at 1/250th, there's still some motion blur in the train. I think I needed to be up closer to 1/1000th. But if I went that high, I would have had to raise the ISO up too high, and it would have just been a grainy mess. Even at ISO 400, this image is pretty grainy. Let's get started editing it like we always do, down at the bottom. Make sure we're on the current version. We're not going to add a vignette to this image. Let's click on Constrain Crop. We'll zoom in on the horizon and we'll level out this image. My Canon 40D didn't have a built-in leveler like my current camera, the Nikon Z6, so all of my older images are slightly crooked. Let's move up. We'll click on Remove Chromatic Aberrations and Enable Profile Corrections. We can see I was using a 17-55 on my crop body camera. Now we'll move up to sharpening. We'll do our standard sharpening routine of 100 sharpening and applying a mask. Hold down the Alt key to bring up our mask. We're going to sharpen everything except the sky. Now we'll go up. We'll skip the color panel for now. We might come back to it. Let's go up to our basic panel. We'll leave the white balance alone for now. We might need to adjust the exposure later, but let's bring down the highlights and bring up the shadows. I don't want to go all the way up, so we'll bring it down just a little bit. So now looking at our histogram, you can see we're towards the left. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit with some exposure and also bringing the white point up. So I'll bring the white point up until we start to clip and then back it back down. Now let's work on the sky. I'm going to use a grad tool. Pull it down and hold down shift. Holding down shift will create a straight line. I want to darken the sky slightly, so I'm going to use our settings here of -0.3. Let's click on new, and I wanted to add some saturation to the sky and also change the color a little bit. So I'm going to reset our exposure since we already did that, and I'm going to bring our color temperature up. Let's warm the sky up, but just the top part of the sky. And to make it pop a little bit more, let's bring up the saturation. All right, that looks better. You can see we spilled over a little bit. That's an easy fix. Just hold down Alt, turn your brush into an eraser. We had auto mask on, which made it very easy. So let's turn off our overlay. Let's reset our exposure. And all I'm going to do is bring the exposure up a little bit to brighten this train. That looks good. It was a little bit too backlit and in the shadows before. Now let's grab one more brush. And I want to darken the brightest parts of this scene, which is the water. So we have our overlay on so we can see where we're working. Let's grab our eraser brush using Alt. That'll do. And let me show you the before and after. So here's where we started. Let's bring down the exposure just a little bit. That's good. It was a little too bright and distracting before. So we can close our brush. Lastly, let's check to see if there's any dust in the sky. Grab our spot removal tool. Click on visualize spots. If you don't have this toolbar, just press T for toolbar. It'll bring it up. Let's adjust here to see if we can find any dust. Looks like there's a few up here. If we were shooting with a smaller aperture, such as f14, as I usually do, we would have probably seen more dust, but we were only shooting at f4, so there wasn't very much dust in this image. Also, when I was shooting this image, I was using a 3-stop soft edge graduated neutral density filter. I had the filter pulled down over the sky in order to darken the sky and keep exposure under control. So we have some dark spots from our brush work, so let's just go back and fix that. We'll click on brush. We'll click here, and we'll turn on our overlay. Let's unbrush some of these areas using the and our eraser brush. So now we have a much nicer blend. So not a bad image for my first time at this location. I came back many times after this and got way better images than this one. Whenever I'm just feeling lazy, I usually end up at San Clemente Pier. It's so relaxing standing on the top of the cliffs, waiting for sunset and just enjoying the view. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe.